came through. Everything's working. No, it's not. We're having a hard time getting through to Jimmy Walker. We'll keep trying. He just went through some hospital time, and I talked to him yesterday for a long time. So before we do anything, we have the Blake Olson report. And Blake has been so wonderful for all of us. So as we've been saying, plunk your magic twanger froggy.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
There he is.
Let's go.
Bang. Hey, here
Love
we go.
That. I'm a big fan of that show now, just because of you. What a week. It's been a great week, Pete.
Man,
I loved working with you.
Well,
awesome.
One of the things about getting to fill in for the guys is I get to be with you, and I feel the same way. It's just a kick to work with you. And again, we'll be back tomorrow morning at 9, but leading off on this is next week's going to be a hell of a week on what happens next. I don't think that she survives.
All right, we'll see. I mean, the bets are out there. I'm sure there are plenty of people wagering on this, and if all four of them. And I'm once again, I'm gonna have another little ditty, no pun intended, about the whole situation later in the show. But yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised, like you said earlier. With Brother Jeff, you're not shocked anymore, or surprised at anything.
No, and if she goes, it's just the beginning of resignations and firings.
Yeah,
they have to be.
You're right. Huh? Yeah, that I could see that happening, and I could see the other side also. But I'm right there with you.
See what happens.
All right.
News is yours.
I'll get it going so you can get that interview underway. 74 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 90 today. This portion of the news sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, President Trump announces that NATO bought the weapons being supplied to Ukraine and that he's disappointed in Russia and may have a major announcement on Monday. He and First Lady Melania are on their way to Texas to tour the flood zone. Flash flooding, of course, hit the area, leaving at least 120 people dead. Many remain unaccounted for. He talked to the press before he left this morning about a few issues, including missing children due to the wide open borders and cartels.
You know, something that you should have that you haven't reported. As you know, 300,000 children are missing, right? 300,000 under Biden. We've already gotten back 10,000 of those children. And we have a lot more planned to come back. We're getting them back by the thousands. But 300,000, and as of this morning, over 10,000 we've gotten back.
And video shows federal immigration agents clashing with non-peaceful protesters in Southern California Thursday. A standoff took place in Camarillo as ICE agents raided a state-licensed cannabis farm where children were hanging around and probably working. Numerous workers at the farm were seen being taken into custody, but it's unclear how many were actually detained. One man on Thursday shot at ICE officers. They are looking for him. Cindy McCain, the wife of the late John McCain, says all the elites knew about the pedo Jeffrey Epstein.
Epstein was hiding in plain sight. We all knew about him. We all knew what he was doing. But we had no one that was, no legal aspect that would go after him. They were afraid of him. For whatever reason, they were afraid of him.
There you go. And once again, I like what the author, cartoonist Scott Adams, who is battling cancer, fighting for his life, said about the Epstein story on Thursday. Bondi, Cash, Bongino, and DJT, I agree with him.
Current take is that I'm going to trust that the four of them are more patriots than weasels, because I don't think any of them lack bravery. Would you agree with me on that? Would you say that the four of them, Trump, Bondi, Patel, and Bongino, they don't lack bravery? So they're not afraid. They're probably protecting us. Now, is that the most generous take you could ever imagine? Probably. But have those four people earned a little extra trust? And the answer is yes. Yes, they have.
For me, I would say yes also. Wimbledon men's final today. Rockies at the Reds tonight. First pitch 5:10, 71 in Castle Rock, 72 in Wheat Ridge, 74 in Denver. The legend Pete in for Jeff and Billy this week as the show continues. It's been a great week. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
A cold front will be paying a visit to the Front Range later this morning, so we'll start off warm, but then a gusty north wind will develop with developing showers and thunderstorms. Showers and thunderstorms could be strong to severe this afternoon, and we may see thunderstorms linger late into the evening before ending. Highs mid to upper 80s and falling, upper 50s tonight, cooler with more showers and thunderstorms, low to mid 80s Saturday. Weather presented by Colorado's Best Roofing. Has hail damaged your home or business? Colorado's Best Roofing offers expert hail damage assessments and assistance with insurance claims. Schedule your free inspection at roofingcolorado.com. Visit roofingcolorado.com today. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
This is going to be a great hour. Good morning, everyone. Again, 710 KNUS Denver's talk station. I'm Peter Boyles. This is my final hour filling in for Billy and Jeff. I got tomorrow at 9 o'clock. We're back on the air. But in the meantime, this is really special for me. Everybody's been using the word legend all week, and here is a legend. Ladies and gentlemen, Brother Jeff stays with me, but if there ever was a radio legend in this city, it's this man. His name is Jimmy Walker, and his moniker on air was Dr. Daddio. First of all, hey, Jimmy, thanks for doing the show, and welcome to 710, and good morning.
It's a pleasure, and good morning to you.
And brother, yeah, you too, sir. And Brother Jeff is on the other line. Jeff, how far back do you go with a friendship and a relationship with Jimmy?
Well, I was raised in Dr. Daddio's house.
I know
and
you
so,
were. Yeah.
You know, there's never a time in my memory that I don't recall being with Dr. Daddio. In fact, I had the pleasure of writing the foreword to his book, Radio in My Soul, and in the future, I could probably be your biographer, Peter.
Well, I wish I was a Jimmy Walker. Jimmy, I know it's hard to say where do we even begin, but let's begin as the man said at the beginning. What was your first job in the radio business?
I worked for a radio station in Shreveport, KANB.
We're having trouble with the line. Where you go, walk back or move over wherever it is that you could be, and let's try it again. What the first station you worked at was?
KANB in Shreveport, Louisiana.
See, we're having problems. Let's try. We need to do a recall. Hang up, and if you would please, and then call back that number that we gave you, and let's see if we can get a clearer line because the phone's breaking up. Would you do that, please? Drop off from you got him? All right, you got him. Jeffrey, so you were a little kid when you met Daddio for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to go back to the time where, you know, radio, in particular AM radio, was the arm of communication across communities in Denver. And so Daddio was not only a radio. This was before him owning the radio station. My home was actually across the alley from his. That's why I was always in his house and spent so much time growing up with his children and him being a parent to me, along with his wife, Miss Walker, Patsy. And so if you think about KDKO, you can't talk to anybody in this city, in this state, and perhaps around the country that does not know the impact that KDKO radio had. It's an incredible story. Daddy-O comes to town, and then he begins working at a radio station, ultimately owns the radio
I think we got
station.
him. I think we got him back up. Daddy, can you hear us now? Are we clean now?
Yeah, things are clear.
There you go. Much better. Jeffrey was talking about growing up with you. If, again, let me come back to the beginning. The first radio station you worked at, what were the call letters?
KANB.
And what was the format?
The format was rhythm and blues.
R&B. And what year was that?
In 1963.
63.
Yeah.
You know, so much has changed, and like Jeffrey was talking, you eventually end up with what they call a black O&O, owned and operated. Those were rare radio stations. KDKO was very rare because the ownership was black. There were black stations that had white ownership, were there not, Jimmy?
Yes, indeed. Most of them.
Yeah, most of them had white ownership, but black on airs. And,
right.
And what air did you use? Daddy-O as an air name then?
Right.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought you told me that. And where did you go after that?
I left there and went to Houston, Texas.
And what were the call letters in Houston?
KCOE.
Same format?
Right.
And then how did you come to Denver, and when did you come to Denver?
1967.
Did KDKO exist then?
No, yeah, the call letters exist, but it was Central Western. You know, we didn't have any black exposure or any black entertainment until I got to them.
When you went on the air, were you the after? I remember the Daddy-O house party, so you were the afternoon drive guy.
Right. That's all I did with all of my changes.
And Jeffrey,
that was my deal. I had to do the afternoon drive.
Would you do 3 to 7, 3 to 6? What was the shift?
Both 3 to 7, 3 to 6. 3 to 6, and 3 to 7.
That's when I remember the house party, the Daddy-O house party.
Right.
Coming to you live and in living color. What color am I coming through to you?
Your nanny, your babysitters, your midnight ramblers, and early morning. Your tops and women whippers. As for Daddy-O, I came to Denver broke as a goat and loose as a goose, and ready for anything that didn't cost money.
The best. And
that's Daddy-O.
Oh yeah, and people back then, a million years ago, when disc jockeys meant something, they no longer mean anything. It was just
right.
Yeah, but you had to be good, and Jimmy was good, and coming up with stuff like that you just heard. That was when I as a kid growing up, and you listened to disc jockeys, you were listening for that. And when did you do a top 40 show, Jimmy, or did you pick your own music?
No, I picked my own music. I mean, we had a music director and all of that, but yeah, it was basically after we got our format of daily, weekly, weekly appearances.
Yep.
We used the we had a choice to pick up music.
When when you would go out, that's what we used to call it going out. Brother Jeff is here, Peter Boyles, and Dr. Daddio, Jimmy Walker, making appearances. And you made appearances around the city, around the community. What did you get? This is none of my business, but what did you get paid to show up?
It was various, depending on what the event was, and concerts and remotes and live broadcasts, and just it was nothing compared to today's, but it was considered to be on the scale of a good business and a good opportunity in those days.
We did plenty of them. We did plenty of remotes. Bob and I did remotes, and that's where I learned about extra money that could be made in this business.
Right.
And then you started promoting.
Right.
We were talking the other day, just you and I didn't know that James Brown was your son's godfather for real.
Right.
Talk about your relationship with James Brown.
It was brotherly love. I mean, we've had so many ups and downs and changes, and but James and I we were a little different. And James was a set person in his mind of what he wanted, and I am the same way. So we would bump our heads, but we were very, very close friends.
Where did he play when he showed up in Denver? Where did JB play?
Well, when I got it, I was able to break the schedules of giving black entertainers an opportunity to come to Denver, and James Brown was one of the guys that he did his own promotions, and he opened the door. I opened the door for him to do his first show.
I did an interview with James Brown, and I don't save much about this business or myself, but I saved James Brown. That's how much he meant to me. And there was only one requirement, and I made it. You have to call him Mr. Brown. That's what.
Oh yeah. I never called him. I never accepted Mr. Brown.
No, you.
It was always James.
He was always James to you.
Yeah.
To Brother Jeff. Jeff, did you ever go to any of the JB shows when Daddy brought James Brown?
Well, of course, you got to remember, not only was I raised in Daddy-O's house, but I was also raised in his businesses. And so whether it was Dr. Daddy-O's Kitchen on Wheels, but particularly KDKO. I mean, I worked with Daddy-O as a music director, an on-air personality, a promotional director. We did all types of events, remotes, etc. And so when you talk about the friendship of a James Brown and a Dr. Daddio, there were more than one occasions when I met these individuals outside of, performances. I would walk in the office of Daddio often, and he's on the phone talking with James Brown as a friend. But not only James Brown, B.B. King. I mean, I could go on the list. Everybody that we think of as legends, Daddio is a part of that ecosystem of terms of friends and working together. And he's also this trailblazer because when he came to Denver, as you know, there was the major formats was Top 40 and then in country, sure. And KLAK was the major station. KDKO was more of a nothing station. It wasn't even on the radar. And Daddio took that station to the heights that it became, working with Dave Siegel, who owns, I think, like 15 radio stations. Yes, but Daddio, I would just wonder, what was it like learning in terms of ownership from someone who owned 15 radio stations and then saying, I'm going to own one or more as well, because KDKO was not the only radio station Daddy-O owned. He also owned stations in Arizona as well.
Jimmy, I mean, what a life. I told you we're talking privately, Jeff, he and Daddy-O and I went to see a late night show, cabaret show with Bobby Blue Bland, and I didn't know that Bobby was a Daddy-O promotion. So it shows you, so you had the one, unless you were really into the music, Bobby Blue Bland was. What was he like to work with, Daddy? Was he easy to go?
He was a great guy.
I love him.
He was a great.
Yeah.
All of the entertainers had some ups and downs, and had some objections. Not objections, but they kind of had a style that in selling and expressing, and they all had those kinds of contacts, those kinds of experiences. And Bobby was a good guy, a true guy. Started with Bobby Bland in Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
And brought him to Denver, I don't know how many times. And there was no entertainer that came to Denver that I didn't bring here, based, black stars. So James Brown and Bobby Bland and B.B. King and Gladys Knight.
You had the Jacksons or Jackson 5 before people really knew who they were. Is that a fair? Yeah.
Yeah, I brought them to town the first 2 times they came here.
Jeffrey.
And I emceed Michael Jackson's and the Jackson 5 program with I emceed the show in hot pants. and my daughter Yolanda introduced Michael Jackson. So it's just it's a long story and an exciting history.
Jeffrey, did you know the Jacksons when they came?
No, I was a little on the young end, so I wasn't. I knew what was happening because remember, Daddy-O and then in this whole echelon of black businesses and black community and R&B and soul were code words or code words for black, and so I can tell you by the time I met a James Brown, I was there at KDKO with James Brown when the Scott's James Brown Soul Brother of the Bridge was named up in, I believe it was like Steamboat. But I know that Daddy-O was also promoting Ike and Tina Turner.
Yep.
One of the things that I know Daddy-O most about in terms of our community is there would be no Earth, Wind, and Fire without Daddy-O playing a role in bringing that group together. So Daddy-O, I'd love for you to talk about Earth, Wind, and Fire because I know a lot about that as well.
Weren't those guys East High guys, or some of them?
Absolutely, Philip Bailey.
Yeah, Phil Bailey. Yeah. I'm being
Larry Dunn.
Yeah, I'm being told to break. I wasn't even paying attention. So Daddy goes on hold. Brother Jeff goes on hold. I'm Peter Boyles. You're listening to Jimmy Walker and Brother Jeff and Peter Boyles on 710 KNUS. Here we go. JB. Bump, 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 bump. Living in America. James Brown. Talk station in a very special hour. Brother Jeff, kind enough to stay and co-host with me, but the one, the only Jimmy Walker, Dr. Daddio, who brought, and I got all these text messages I want to read, brought many, many acts to Denver early on. Let me read this one to you, Jimmy. I worked 2 James Brown shows at the Paramount, I guess 1987 or 1988. It was 2 shows one night. The first show didn't sell out. James kind of mailed that one in. The second show was sold out, nothing short of phenomenal. The Millie Jackson shows Daddy brought in were memorable. To Brother Jeff, how many of these acts when they were coming into Denver, how much of that did you work as well?
Oh my gosh, there. First of all, there are not many air personalities, and that's what we called them, air personalities, before they became time and temperature jocks. Yeah. You got to think about like the likes of Wolfman Jack and Dr. Daddio, and then the promoters like Barry Fay and Dr. Daddio, and so all of these acts, particularly recent, if you would think about like the Mary J. Bliges, the Bobby Womack's, the Blue Blands. Like Daddio had the blues particularly on lock, but he also had all of the R&B artists. So for people who are thinking about Usher right now, Daddio was promoting Usher at KDKO when Usher was on promotional tours. I was cutting commercials for Usher and Aaliyah and Frankie Beverly and Maze with the Thin Air Jam. And I mean, there's not an act that has come to town that Boys to Men at the East Denver YMCA, which no longer exists anymore, but Boys to Men was right there inside of the East Denver YMCA. Daddio talked about, Earth, Wind, and Fire. He was great friends with Perry. It was Perry Jones who was actually the manager of Earth, Wind, and Fire, and we knew him. So all of these acts and all of this energy and all of this incredible talent in terms of business acumen, etc., I gleaned it directly from Dr. Daddio every day for the majority of my life. So all of those acts I've been around.
And I know you brought the Isley Brothers too, Doc. And
there is not a star that the black star and some white stars that I promoted it and played the music, but with there's not a star that has been known or made that KDKO and Daddio didn't have was responsible for bringing into the public and letting people know who they were.
One of the guys that worked with you or for you that I got to know was Billy Soul, and Billy did Billy work for you or with you?
Well, he worked with me, and he went to the jazz station after he left KDKO.
Yeah, I was introduced to him, and I said he was a KDKO jock is when I met him. When did you buy or when did you get KDKO?
I started in 1967. I bought it in 2018.
And how many years did you own it?
My connect from 2018 to ownership to 2022, I believe. I believe that. But I've been in the radio industry for 56 years.
we were talking. I pulled 51, and I said, "Wait a minute, Daddy's been here for at least 60, so I'm off a couple." But you were a young guy jocking for the first time. And I asked you this before, but did you jock under Jimmy Walker, or did you start Daddy-O, or what?
It is always Daddy-O. Always have been Daddy-O.
I thought so. And
he got a tough business was a Daddy-O. You know, during those days when we came along, it was pet names, Daddy-O's, Hotses, and Zing Zangs, and King B. You know, it was, everybody had a very few people had their real name, you know.
You didn't use your real name. I mean, they had...
Most people didn't ever really have not, and possibly will not know my name.
Jeffrey, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, you say. Go ahead. You were saying.
No, I said that was the practice. That was the policy. And everybody, you know, the black jocks ended up, you know, having a pet name.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you met guys and they had that name, and then you found out when you saw the paycheck, it was some other guy, but it was those guys. That was, you know, but that's what it was. Jeffrey, did you ever use another name on the air? Did we lose Jeff?
My name was Mr. Magic on the radio.
Oh, there you go.
Mr. Magic. Yeah, it was Mr. Magic and Daddy-O's son. Folks didn't know that was the mystery man. You know, Miss Thing was his, you know, granddaughter.
I remember Miss Thing, yeah.
And so, yeah, it was Mr. Magic on KDKO.
See, I never knew you had that, man. So now, well, you are. You maintain Mr. Magic. Guys had names, man. They just had jock names, and then you find out the guy had like a real name, but the business was different. Back to Jimmy. Jimmy, what's changed in this business? What's the biggest change you've seen?
To force us out.
Yeah. Talk about that, because I think you're right.
Well, I mean, you know, we had black radio was a choice, was a voice for our community. I want to go back a little bit there. I said and telling you at the time that I owned it, I actually was the owner.
Yeah.
1989 to 2002. So I want to straighten that out. At the time that, you know, that I owned it, but for as long as KDKO existed with black music, I was the person that was in control. I managed. I went through every stage that could be, teaching, training, from sales, you name it. There's nothing at the business that I did not have the opportunity to experience. And going back again a little piece further back on being able to be a part of that industry, a part of, and when I left, when St. Katie kept one way, you know, I consider being forced out of business. Black radio died in Denver and all over the country.
It did. You know, I grew up, I say this, I grew up on a black station, WAMO in Pittsburgh, WAMO. And I think every kid walked around, everybody had a Social Security card in their back pocket from WAMO radio. And you were cool if you listened to black stations. And there was regular top 40 white radio, but we didn't listen to that. I don't know. It was just part of the culture of growing up. Listen to WAMO. And when I first heard Daddy, I knew it was part of it. It was the same thing. But all of that's now gone, isn't it, Jeff?
Well, you know, I don't think that it's gone. I think it's been co-opted. And so when you look at a lot of these stars that are not black today, you can really look at where their roots lies. Like, for example, we know Elvis is not the king of rock and roll. However, we do know that he was able to go and glean what was taking place in terms of the culture. And everyone knows, economically, black culture drives what's cool, what's fashionable, the slang, the swag, and all of those different things. You can look at Coach Prime right now and others. That's a part of the culture. And so, when you think of a Dr. Daddy-O and going back to Houston when he was Dr. Jazzmo. Daddy-O, you remember Dr. Jazzmo?
Yeah.
Well,
yes, indeed. Those are the early days. I've kind of forgotten. Yeah.
So what happened, Jeff? What happened to it?
Well, what happened was, just to put it right where it needs to be, is it's integration. And what happened was the best of society was able to siphon off the economic lifeblood of the black community. And instead of saying, we're going to force them to go in the back of the restaurant, they have economic power. We still don't appreciate them, but we'll let them in the front of the restaurant to save our businesses. And so now, once individuals are able to emulate or to even kind of duplicate what black folks have produced, then you don't need the black folks anymore, which means you can dry up businesses by not advertising with them. And then the business, the actual way business is working right now, it's not just black radio, because now white radio and other radio fell behind as well. I mean, there's a changing of the time, but there's also a concerted effort to dry up advertising to make individuals sell their assets to go into someone else's portfolio.
How tough, Jimmy, was to sell? You had to go out and sell the station. How tough was it?
How tough was the sales? I mean, when we started, it was really tough. And then we had the opportunity with advertisers that had a national and local rates and prices. So we had the opportunity to be involved with that. And then later the money came out for black dollars. Agencies had black advertising budget, and they had the white advertising budget.
Yeah, that's true.
And when they ended up freezing the dollars out, it automatically killed our businesses. The major corporations, they froze up. They stopped spending. So we couldn't operate. I couldn't operate without any, the income coming in. So when the time forced me to make the move, I make the move.
Yeah. Jeffrey, did you ever sell time for the station?
Oh, absolutely, because I know that the music business and the music industry and radio, it's a business. And one of the things that most businesses will not allow the average person to do is to do sales, because sales is where the money is actually at.
That's
and
true.
So they'll let you be an on-air personality, or they might let you around the front desk, but they will never let you get out there and really do sales. And then when you start doing sales, and you start doing the corporate sales where the big money is, you start having a different echelon in terms of how you can make money. Like, there are individuals that can be real estate agents, but then there are individuals that will never become commercial real estate agents. There are folks that will, there's always a pecking order, and in business, the money is in sales. And nothing happens in business until something is sold. And that's what Daddy-O taught me.
And Daddy's right. We used to go, we used to call them the 3-hour lunches. It would be, and you went with the advertisers, and you went with the sales guys, and that's where the money was. But it took, a lot of people never realized that, and so they fell short. And that's why I wondered always with Jimmy's station, was it a tough sell? It couldn't have been easy early on when he first broke in, but then I think when sponsors began to realize that there was a whole market that was untapped, then I think things did change. Does that hold up, Jeff?
Well, absolutely. I mean, Daddy-O's a trailblazer, so you've got to remember he comes into a market that has to prove that R&B has a market and a share. And so much so to where a country western station changes its format directly to R&B because of the listenership, and listenership is an opportunity to expand and grab advertisers, and then once someone gobbles up your market, they no longer need you anymore. And so absolutely, economic warfare is a real thing. It's called market share, it's called business acumen, it's called individuals pulling resources against their competition. And so right now, when you think about black music, it is not in the hands of black people at all.
No, the control of, now that there's Sirius and XM, and they've even taken away the what's now called terrestrial radio. This is a terrestrial radio station, and radio is struggling right now, and there are the attempts to force have the government force the car makers to keep AM in the cars. I grew up on AM radio. Daddy was AM radio. Jeff, you grew up on AM radio. It's all switched around now, and it's in a struggle. And I don't know. We got a turnaround coming? Yeah. Everybody goes on hold. We got a break coming. With us, the man who made so much headway and early on, Jimmy Walker, Dr. Daddio, of course, Brother Jeff, staying with us. Stay here. It is Friday, July the 11th, 710 KNUS.
Traffic.
Yeah, we're checking on a crash being reported on Pena. It looks like it may be on the outbound side of the airport. That's southbound Pena, past Tower, maybe approaching 5th